Welcome to Arts Talk TV. We're putting a spotlight on creativity. Hi there, I'm Karina Lawrence and welcome to Arts Talk TV. We're here at the beautiful Tallebudgera in Queensland's Gold Coast. I'm so excited to introduce our next guest on the show. They are world-acclaimed underwater photographers with a ginormous passion for conservation. Please welcome to the show, Darren and Jasmine Carey. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us, passion behind photography.
Yeah,
Where did that begin for you guys?
Well, the ocean was always intriguing, but it really started when I started diving. And
Wow.
I could actually see it for myself. Yeah.
It's another world. I know when I've had my experience of diving, you literally, time doesn't exist down there.
No, that's right.
You know.
Yeah. And I guess also to explain, when I started diving, people didn't understand why I wanted to restrict myself and be enclosed in all this water. I guess people must have felt very claustrophobic or fearful.
Yeah.
And to try to explain how beautiful it was and how time just disappeared and all those magical things that happen under there. I guess that's kind of started it off for me as to.
Did you
like
have a
why.
passion for photography prior to that? Like, has that always been, like, did you study in photography at
No, I
school?
didn't study in photography. I had a passion for it, family shots and holidays and I guess those weekender snaps. To try and combine it with diving, when I first started diving, I didn't think it was possible.
And what about you, Darren?
I guess the opposite. I think I got interested in photography as a kid through my dad's interest in photography and his travels, and I pursued study straight out of high school and did a couple of years at art college, and then started working in industry straight away after that, in labs and processing filmmaking prints to start with, then as a commercial photographer's assistant doing fashion advertising, that kind of stuff. But my passion was always like the world, so I think nature photography was where I was always aiming to get. After a couple of years out of college, I got a pretty good job with the Queensland National Park Service as their photographer. Since then, I've just pursued it as a freelance with my own business.
Wow, and you've received quite a few awards. 2007, 2009, 2010, 12, 13 and 18. Canon Australian Professional Nature Photographer of the Year.
Yeah, that's, how about that?
Blows you
yeah.
away when you
So,
hear it.
yeah, I started entering in 2007 and won that first year, and then just thought I'd better take better pictures next year, and mostly to challenge myself. The process of that competition is it's judged by a panel of 5 professional photographers who, you know, debate the merits of the pictures publicly, so you can actually hear what people think about your pictures. And so that's quite a revealing process.
And so, Jasmine, you've also received some highly acclaimed awards in your industry, winning the HIPA International Photography Award. One shot?
One shot, yes.
Wow. How do you know what shot to enter?
Oh, I didn't.
They selected
but that one, that was a recent shot. I guess it stood out for me. So I guess that one, because I was still thinking about it at the end of the season, that was the one that I picked to put in.
And how much planning goes into it? Because is it just in the moment that's captured and you just go, whoa, that is a brilliant shot, like for the two of you even? Or is it something that you do think, okay, I want to present this specific style of work?
At the start, it's like, well, what do I capture? What is it that resonates with me that I want to capture? And then you start kind of capturing everything because you don't want to miss anything. But then you learn very quickly, I learned very quickly to be more selective. Not only is just the imagery that you see, but also the emotion of the excitement or the interaction that you have about you in the moment, taking it, and I guess what you see as a beautiful. I think that relays in when people see images as well. You can tell whether the image is probably a little bit flat, like it's really beautiful, but there's something missing in it. And I don't know whether it's probably because the person taking it has missed a certain aspect in it, or whether it all seems to all meld together, and you can sense the emotion, and you can sense the beauty in it, and you can sense, you know, a whole bunch of levels in it. Yeah.
And I guess that idea that there's it's almost like some photography can be superficial, can be just a picture of something, and anybody could have taken it as long as they had a camera there. And it's really that translation from that level to that emotional level where your storytelling comes from, I guess, from within, whether that's emotional, intellectual study of a subject, which I guess comes out in style. So in terms of how long it takes, like how much planning goes into it, well, if it's something about behavior of an animal that's going to be the difference between getting the shot and not, you might only get that planning might have been your whole life of experiencing things and knowing that, if I know that animal does this, now that I've had a lifetime of experience, I should go and give it a try and shoot it.
How do you prepare to take all your equipment? Because not only are you focused on diving, for example, but there's a lot to take on board.
Yep.
But then to manage taking all your equipment, as you say, lighting up, what's involved in that?
Yeah, well, in a way, like we got connected through my need to have some assistance from somebody who knew how to dive and understood what the task would be like and was a good diver and a good planner. And so I got Jasmine involved in helping me with some shoots, and because I know that like you say, your mind's kind of on diving. Yes. As soon as you get your mind onto photography, for me, something sometimes has to go aside, and so I kind of liked having on board somebody who kind of understand what my limitations were and what my habits were when I was diving, so it could come and get a tap on the shoulder if you're spending a bit too long, too deep, or something like that.
The limitations on restrictions for weight has gotten pretty, over the last few years, have gotten really tight.
Yeah.
And that's been difficult too.
You normally have more than like 120 kilos or something like that, probably.
Yeah.
If we're 50 or 60 kilos each, that's about as much as we'll take.
What about dealing with the wildlife? Like while you're setting up, if there's a moment, is it like capture it, or are you focused in setting up and then it's a matter of sitting and waiting? What about the dangers involved?
Well, every situation's different, and every animal's different. You have to kind of work differently with each different situation. And diving, like scuba diving as an example, you go through a lot of work to get an hour underwater. So sometimes you'll time that for the right expected moment when the current's right, to get sharks on a point of a reef where the current's running or something like that. Other times it might be more just going to a place where you can expect kind of the unexpected. So
there was this one time we were shooting at a place for Australian Geographic, and we were doing a camera swap over, and a tiger shark had just come past, and we literally could have just rubbed our hands down. Like, it came so close and over the top, and we were like, I really hope that was in the shot. Yeah. I really hope that.
Yeah, we were doing
while we were changing the cameras over.
Do you do that underwater?
Yeah. So you run the camera and then take a whole complete another system down and just take one camera off the tripod and replace it with a whole system, and then do the
so a lot
do
of
battery
investing
changes.
in equipment.
Yeah, well, we've got two sets of gear so that we can do that redundancy for long shoots like that, or have a couple of different lenses, because you can't change lenses when you're underwater.
Oh, really?
So if you can use a zoom, which will give you a variety of angle, but if you want something like macro, close-up stuff, or wide angle, you really need two cameras.
Because you guys also run tours for the Whale Watching.
We do, yeah.
Do you find that your knowledge of being able to see them in their natural habitat and how they behave is different to obviously being above the ocean?
Oh, for sure. The first whales that I saw were always from the boat, and you'd see a tail here and a breach there and a pectoral slap somewhere, and I used to just think, wow, what on earth is going on for the other 99.9% of the time? And And I know that for most research, behavioural research on whales has always been done from boats as well. So there's a lot of assumptions going on about what the animals are doing. We do sort of 70 days a year in the water each. So that's a lot of information coming in and seeing a lot of really weird things that are kind of contra to what the behavioural research would suggest. That's been probably the most fulfilling part of it, is being able to then translate that into imagery that people like, and then they can get to learn more about things, because without that kind of knowledge of the subject, then people don't have any reason to look after it.
When you're running a tour, what are some of the common misconceptions that tourists make in relation to being close to wildlife?
Oh, that they're there all the time.
Yeah. That because they're on the tour, the whales will come to them.
Yeah, whale that they're in, and
they're going to do the tricks and the jumps and.
Yes, I think that's probably the misconception that, you know, it's always sunny in a tropical island, and that the whales are there on cue.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they expect to have, I don't know, something that they saw happen to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So
really
expectation
difficult.
management's the hardest thing with the whale stuff, anything in the ocean, really. We try and produce a really amazing picture every day while we're on during a season, because we need to keep awareness going about what's going on. And not just an amazing good quality picture, but a picture that people haven't seen before. So we end up creating like a body of work that is extraordinary, in my opinion, like the work that I see Jasmine make and the effort I put into trying to create new things. And I forget sometimes that people are seeing that and going, oh, I'll be able to do just that.
Right.
And so the first couple of days of a tour are often, I guess, coming to grips with the fact that they were in the water with us, with often the same camera, even better cameras. And, oh, why haven't I got that? What is it that I'm missing? And they haven't realised that they've got to stay close to us,
and present in the
present,
moment,
and not think that they can do it. Like, if they want something like we do, they need to do what we do.
They're so focused on what kind of photo they're going to get, and they're missing out on that amazing thing that's happening right in front of them. And there's a lot of times where I can't believe what I'm seeing and the interaction or behaviour that we're getting, that I haven't even taken a picture yet, or you know, I'm just in the moment with it and I'm watching the guests, because we always have people in the water with us. So the way I'm watching them respond to what's happening, and then I'm watching the whale, and it's like, wow, this is so great, you know, and it's like, oh, I haven't taken a picture, oh, you know, and then I need to wait for a moment to take a picture. But and I think we always say to people, look, you know, it's your first day in the water, don't worry about taking a picture, just enjoy what's happening. And then you'll see the way the whale moves, you know, you'll absorb something, and then probably tomorrow you might have a better idea of what kind of picture you want to take, or what you want to experience.
Yeah, I think when people are starting out in photography, they're often doing something which I would encourage, which is gaining as much visual literacy as they can, building up that bank of images in their head so that they can inform their own work from that. But I guess that comes in different stages, and if you've been sucking up a lot of pictures and you worked out what you like, some people are going to go, well, that's the one I want, instead of using it as a tool for creating their own picture. So it's getting people out of that mindset as well. So, and you know, we are at an advantage in that we do spend 70 days a year doing it, so we
consecutively.
We don't have that urgency that some of the guests have, but we run tours that are like with the whale swimming in Tonga. They're multiple day trips. So the idea being that you will get different opportunities. We don't have to rush it all on the first day, that kind of stuff. So.
Do you guys like a specific brand of camera, or have you an array of gear according to its functionality, like its ability and how it functions?
Well, I've been using one brand for a long time, and I'm used to it. and I don't see any reason
Works for you.
not to change it. I guess that the thing is that anytime that the tool becomes more important than the result, I think you're thinking too hard about cameras. So I would much rather be able to just pick up something out of my bag, put it to my eye, and know where everything is, not have to think about it, then, because I don't want to take my mind off the subject. Like the last few years, I would say that I've shot 90% of my work in the underwater housing. So I'll even sometimes take a camera out of a housing and take a topside picture and have to think a little bit about where things are, because the controls on the housing are different to where they are on the camera. And any little hesitation between, you deciding it's time to take a picture and getting a result is the chance of missing something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've really got to know and understand your skill in the equipment that you use is quite vital.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that gets underestimated, because cameras now, you can put them on auto and take a picture and you'll get a pretty good looking result. But knowing what the controls available to you are and how they can affect the way your stories are being told visually, I think is really important. That takes a bit of effort to start with, and it may get in the way of the art while you're learning. But once you've got comfortable, then it becomes secondary and not really something that you have to worry about. There's certainly pictures, some of my favourite pictures that I've taken in the last few years would not have been possible without developments in sensor technology, which we've been able to be lucky enough to have in this era in photography. So, but I think that's been the case all the way through photography, from when you could only take one picture at a time, take your darkroom with you on a trailer behind the horse, to when you can shoot 5,000 pictures on one card.
Things have definitely evolved.
Yeah, and you need to, I guess, whatever that gear is that you've got, if it does give you a new way of looking at things, you've got to make the most of that and allow that to happen.
I've recently really enjoyed shooting with film, and I always so habitually just go, oh, I can't look, and then I'm so excited about when are we going to process the film?
And also probably I would imagine it's a beautiful reveal when you kind of develop it and then you're like, oh my gosh.
And you value that capture so much more, because you don't want to scratch it, you don't want to develop it for the wrong amount of time, because you'll ruin it forever, whereas like digital's really solved those sorts of problems for people. I guess the respect that I have for pictures comes from knowing how hard they used to be to take.
Yeah, right.
Whereas now I think people just pick up their phone, take pictures, and so the level of respect that I hold pictures up in very high regard, because I know how difficult it was to make them. Yeah.
I think in every industry you honour the respect of those that came before you, and
they create the environment for you to be able to do the next thing, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you, Darren, are an advocate for conservation and ambassadors for Rainforest Rescue.
Yes, we've got our Rainforest Rescue t-shirts on. They're great. Yes. There's so much going on with in the world that needs to be fixed environmentally, and there has been for a long time. On the TV I saw like these new things that we needed to do to save the planet, and they were exactly the same things that were being talked about 30 years ago, and they haven't been done. And so that says to me that my generation and me, I haven't done enough to make people to action. And so it kind of redoubles your effort. In choosing an organisation to support, we love that group like Rainforest Rescue. You basically, you can plant a tree and create new habitat in a rainforest area that's been degraded. You can improve the water quality running off that land into the rivers, which, if you've got better water quality going out the rivers onto the barrier reef, the nutrient level on the reef is going to be less, so the coral's going to be healthier. And it just all makes sense that just plant more trees. And it's a very simplistic way of saving the planet, but I tell you what, if you plant enough trees, you'll have a big effect. And if you could do that at the same time as reducing consumption and using new technologies to to utilize carbon rather than just put it into the ground like they're talking about in some areas.
It's such a sustainable ethic or a program, and you can do it not only in northern Queensland where they're I guess based mainly, but you can plant a tree anywhere in the world, and you can pick the trees that are for that particular region, and it will have ginormous benefits for years to come, not just in the moment. And it's I guess it's back to like basics of the plant. You don't need anything fancy or anything like that to be able to do it, and it's that in combination with all the things that Darren just said is just it's really efficient. And
Imagine
effective.
if the whole population of Queensland, for instance, just planted a tree.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what can I do to save the planet?
Yeah.
Well, you could go down to Bunnings and buy a couple of trees and find a spot to plant them. And
You can even name it after yourself if need
do
be.
whatever you like.
plaque on there for you.
Yep. And or if you don't have capacity to do that, you can pay somebody through a donation to plant a tree for you. And hopefully that's going to be done well. In the case of Rainforest Rescue, that's done in a way that is not just planting trees, but it's rebuilding forests.
Yeah.
So not only do you have the tree growing, the water cleaner, the reef in better health, it creates connections between other large areas of intact habitat. So wildlife corridors get created, and you see the moving of species. So the species are healthier, biodiversity's going to be in better shape. It just makes perfect sense.
So simple, isn't it? If you look at it,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. Plant trees, guys. Plant trees more and more. You recently founded an Underwater Tour Awards to celebrate underwater photography. Elaborate a little bit more on that.
Oh, well, it was a couple of friends of ours, they started the Underwater Tour, which brought speakers across in all capital cities for a week. It was the second year, and we thought to help support that, an underwater photography competition would really help, and also get engagement and support from the community about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually the first year of the awards was this year, and whilst it was a photography award this year, the plan for the Underwater Tour Awards is to, I guess, diversify out of photography. Photography will always have a place, and an important place in it, but we're introducing, next year for instance, we're introducing a local conservation hero category, and for an adult and a child, and that'll be like a nomination process.
Great.
And also a creative.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, yeah. There's
That's exciting.
a creative category for people that aren't photographers, and that will be like from the heart to the ocean, and however you want to express that. Poem,
so a lot for these
3D,
creatives
whatever.
that you have. It can be a sculpture, it can be a poem, it can be a drawing.
digital art,
Anything to do
doesn't
with
matter.
art.
Anything,
Yeah,
any way to
creativity.
express. Yeah,
Yeah,
true art. So
beautiful.
just express
So
yourself.
we want to be able to, I guess, connect everybody and get as many people involved, because you don't have to be a diver or a swimmer or in the water every day to appreciate the value of the ocean.
Absolutely.
We want
Sure.
that to be able to be heard.
You just need to care,
amongst everybody.
ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a way for what was the Underwater Tour being a way of bringing global speakers to Australia and then travelling around to local communities. The awards kind of flips that on its head and allows people all around the world to enter something here as well.
Yeah. You were featured in Tales by Light, which was a Netflix series. Tell us more about that.
So the concept of Tales by Light grew out of a series of short bio pieces that were produced for Canon about their what they termed their Canon Masters. I got involved in that program. They created a little 7-minute piece about me swimming with whales in Tonga and taking pictures, and that grew into the idea of, hey, there's some amazing content here. We should do a TV show about photography. And Tales by Light grew from that. First series, which went to air in 2015.
Right.
The one that I was in was the first episode of the first series, and it's gone on to be three series now. Yeah.
I imagine that's quite the honour.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing just to be part of the production, and went to free to air in Australia first, and then Nat Geo Channel had it here, and then all of a sudden we heard it was going on Netflix, and it's still there. So it screened first Netflix 2015, and it's still up there, so people must be still watching it. It's a show that was designed to tell stories about the world through the eyes of photography. So it's not a series about I set the camera on f/22 at 1/25 of a second and focus like this. It's about it's more
the planning and the logistics and the
meanings behind.
Probably really enhancing the skill set behind photography more so.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, like after watching these shows and getting to know a whole bunch of Darren, a lot of Darren and his friends, it's even though photography has always seemed to be such a solo position, whereas if you really have a challenge, it is a teamwork environment to be in. But then the industry seems to be very much individualised. If you really want to create something spectacular, you need spectacular people to be able to do it.
Yeah, I guess that myth's been perpetuated over the years. If a National Geographic photographer, like when you think about how much goes into that from the person who's charged with making sure they get their ton of gear to a site, their assistants, the researchers that have helped them get to the right place, all of that stuff. It is
their guides and the people the shamans are carrying all their packs and everything, like all those little intricacies about it, and especially with wildlife, whoever's doing the tracking and like they may not be taking the photos, but without their knowledge of behaviour and things, the photographer wouldn't be able to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. That acknowledgement of that, I think, is really important, in the same way as acknowledging your influences when you've been learning photography, and acknowledging them to yourself as much as to anybody else, just so that you realise what you're doing has got some grounding in something. Once you realise that it's not all you, then I think your work really does shine beyond.
I think that's a poignant awareness right there, is it's never just about us. We have a bit of a fun factor at the end of our Arts Talk TV interview. It's called the Shutter Speed Challenge. Are you guys up for that?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to just ask you some questions, and you just whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
It's kind of like a rapid fire vibe.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Last song you listened to?
Whitney Houston. I want to dance with somebody.
Yay! Same.
Yes, it is actually, because we drove here, it was in the car.
Nailed that one. What does creativity mean to you?
Creativity is, for me, it's the expression of your whole life's history and a message and combined with a message you'd like to get out.
Beautiful. Jasmine?
Yeah, definitely expression about how you're feeling in that moment, because you could look and edit a picture today and look at it again tomorrow, and you could decide two totally different things. Yeah.
Person you'd most like to meet?
I don't know.
Frank Hurley.
Oh, what would you ask him?
I'd ask him what made him think about putting his large format camera in a fish tank in the Torres Strait to take some of the first underwater photos of the Great Barrier Reef.
Wow,
That'd be one of the questions, but there'd be 1,000 more, because he was amazing Australian photographer.
I want to say Janet Jackson, but then But then I probably want to say the Dalai Lama.
I would agree with you. What would you ask them?
Well, I would ask Janet like everything. Just ask everything. But I'd ask the Dalai Lama how he stay so calm. Like, how can he be so resilient and just so
And find the
calm?
knowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
and find the knowledge.
Last piece of art that really affected you.
I got sent a lino cut of my photo
Oh, wow.
yesterday from someone on Instagram, and they did it and they sent it to me, and I was like, oh wow, that's absolutely amazing. And then someone else had sent me a painting that was really beautiful too.
For me, I think it's called Wrapped Coast.
Okay.
When Christo did wrapped a part of the Sydney coast in cloth and rope at the, like it would have been beginning of the 70s, I think. He did it. It was like the first time it had been done. You'd never be able to do it now.
Wow.
It got me thinking about contemporary art and how there's so much more to art than taking a picture and
Yeah, the layers.
the layers.
Okay, if you had to label creativity with a colour, what colour would you choose?
Ah, blue.
Blue.
Duh. What would you miss most about creative art?
Interpretation. Yeah.
I'd have nothing else to do.
It's everything, isn't it?
It is.
What's on your bedside table?
I don't have a bedside table.
Okay, that's easy.
Oh, a caricature of a stormtrooper and Darth Vader.
Ah, a little bit of a
And
Star Wars
and
fan
what are they?
to my
Bobblehead Aquaman.
Ah, cute. What chore do you most dislike doing?
Rinsing dive gear.
Packing.
Because that means it's over.
Yeah.
In one word, what does art mean to you?
Life.
Well, I had that word, and then I just thought of expression.
Yeah. It's been so wonderful having you here on the show. I feel like you brought a whole other element to the arts and knowledge behind, but the realization is under the one roof. It's really about teamwork, expression as we've put there, and understanding how much goes into the behind the scenes. So thank you so much
Pleasure.
for
Thank you.
sharing your knowledge and reminding us all of how magic nature is, and to be present in that. And
Thank
planting a tree.
Plant a tree.
you. Plant it.
More than
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode.